All right, awesome. Put this over here, super small. Good deal. All right, so I wanted to talk to you guys today about leaky gut, which is a really important topic to me just because it's made such a difference in my health. So I definitely had a lot of, well, I still have food allergies, but they were a lot worse. I tried to do a couple different cleanse type shake diets and was basically miserably ill during them and was very frustrated because I was like, I'm eating all this healthy stuff, all these vegetables, and I've never felt more horrible in my life. And little did I know that I was actually reacting to a lot of the products that I was taking because they were really high in different carbohydrates that the gut bacteria I had at the time just totally loved. So I tried to do all these different things, self-medicating, like tried all these supplements that were available at school, and basically didn't really get very far with any of that except for maybe just going paleo. But eventually I ran into my now partner in business, and he was my doctor at the time and actually put me on a strict leaky gut repair type program, which I noticed a difference, a vast difference within a month. I noticed a difference in my brain health. I noticed a difference in my digestion for sure, my energy level, how much I needed caffeine to function, how much I needed sugar to function. All of that changed in this like 30-day period. So I did like a very strict program for 30 days. Some people require more than that. It just really depends on your body and your ability to heal and how strictly you go with it. I was also getting adjusted on a regular basis in the process, which really speeds up the healing process and helps out your immune system. So that's enough about my story. So let's get into it. So I really like Hippocrates. He says, all disease begins in the gut, and now we're finally beginning to realize the importance of that. Obviously, it seems there's all these probiotics on the market, all these digestive enzymes, all these different diets that have to do with anti-inflammation, and really what all those diets do is they target the gut. So it's very important to target the gut in the treatment of any disease, and so that's why we're going into this today. And then I just wanted to add at the bottom, Hippocrates also said when in sickness to look to the spine first, because, you know, your brain communicates with the rest of your body, and that requires your spinal and nervous system health. So our plan of action for today is to kind of go over a little bit about what normal digestion looks like, then what leaky gut is and the effect that that has on digestion. Maybe some testing options for you guys as far as how do you know if you have it or not, different treatment options, things that you can do at home, things you can get from alternative health providers, and then lastly, just prevention. How do you keep it from going back? Like, how do you live maintenance-wise, that type of thing. So to get into a bit about normal digestion, this is absolutely like my favorite picture. So you have food. Food has these things called enzymes in them, okay? So there's only enzymes in real food, so things that come from the earth like fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and those types of things. So enzymes are a chemical in the body and in plants and things that your body uses to break down food. So that first step should be happening like in your mouth as you chew. So like the more you chew, the more enzymes there are that are gonna break down the food before it gets to the stomach. So once food gets to the stomach, you have this product called hydrochloric acid that should be increased when you're eating in order to digest food and kind of push it out of the stomach within like a half an hour to an hour. So if you get heartburn like immediately after you eat, it's usually because either you have not enough hydrochloric acid or your stomach is shoved up into the diaphragm and is pretty angry. So you might need a chiropractor to help you out to get that to drop back down. But we'll save that topic for another day. So once you get the food past the stomach, it should be almost completely digested into small constituents at this point. Your small intestines doesn't like to do a lot of work with breaking down food because the stomach is super acidic. It's supposed to do all that. By the time you get to small intestines, it's supposed to be basic, which is needed for absorbing the nutrients. So in the small intestine, you're going to get bile from the gallbladder to help you digest fats, some enzymes from the pancreas to help you to digest protein and sugar more, and then your small intestine wall is supposed to absorb very small parts of these fatty acids, proteins, and carbohydrates. Unfortunately, what happens to a lot of people is they do not have adequate stomach acid or bile or enzymes, and then undigested food gets too far in the small intestine, and that's where you cause a lot of problems because bacteria really, really like undigested food. And don't worry if this is a lot at once, guys. We're going to definitely get into these a little bit more in depth. So from there, the gut wall, this is actually skipping a step. The liver should be coming after that gut wall because all of the bloodstream from the gut goes straight to the liver. And so the liver is in charge of getting rid of the junk that comes in the bloodstream from the gut. So when you're getting things into the bloodstream that aren't supposed to be there, like in leaky gut, as we're going to get into, the liver gets very overwhelmed with the number of things it needs to clear out. And then from the liver, it's going to go to the rest of the body. Moral of the story. So here are some common symptoms that people have in their digestion and kind of like what they mean. I only include these because a lot of these can lead to a leaky gut or have a lot to do with you having a leaky gut. So I just wanted to cover them pretty quickly. So anytime that you have a lot of gas, so that can be belching, burping, flatulence, bloating, anything like that, that's because bacteria is feeding on undigested food, usually undigested carbohydrates, because that's what they tend to really like because it's easy. And so that's why a lot of people, if they have a very starchy meal or a lot of gluten or something like that, they tend to get really bloated afterwards, is because the bacteria are like totally loving it. There's a lot of theories out there that we wouldn't even really have gluten allergies and things of that nature if people actually fully digested their food, because if the protein's broken down, then you shouldn't be making antibodies to it. But that gets into a lot more immunology. So next we have cramping, pain, and spasms. So this is usually when the body is trying to eliminate bad food. So I'll give you an example. I've traveled over the weekend to Chicago and had some fun with my siblings. Had seriously horrible cramping and spasms when I came back because I guarantee you my body was trying to get rid of the junk I put in it all weekend. Next, we have upper right abdominal pain. That can also be in the center too, like right below your rib cage. This can be your gallbladder that's in spasm. This usually happens because it's trying to pump out this bile to help you digest your food, and it's just not able to pump out enough, or it's just been trashed by eating too many high carbohydrate meals over the years. Next is pain after a fatty meal. So this is again going to be the gallbladder, because the gallbladder is in charge of producing that bile to help you digest your fats. So I only include these because a lot of people will have these like gallbladder-ish attacks where they get really, really bad abdominal pain. They feel nauseous. Everything feels tight up top, and they like think they have a stone or something and need to go get it removed, when really that may not be the case. You might just be having like a serious spasm after a weekend of trashing your diet. So that's something to keep in mind. Next, we have constipation. So constipation is one of those things that can be kind of caused by everything. It can be caused by dehydration, food reactions, poor movement of muscles, sitting around too much, traveling will do it, a lot of things. Diarrhea is what the body's trying to get rid of something. So whether that's like you ate something that you're allergic to, or you ate a bacteria, or like something toxic, your body tries to flush it out as fast as possible. And lastly, I have heartburn. So heartburn is like going back to this photo with the stomach here. So if your stomach, I hope you guys can see it in this photo. If you're not having your food digested, then your stomach the food in your stomach is going to kind of back up as it sits there and rancidifies and goes up into your esophagus, and that's when you get that kind of heartburn feeling. Whereas if you actually had enough stomach acid and enzymes to digest your food, then this wouldn't happen, because it would be moving on to your small intestines like it's supposed to and not kind of bubbling up into your esophagus. There are very, 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 very few people that get heartburn because they have too much stomach acid, and most people can reduce it or eliminate it by taking things like apple cider vinegar or stomach acid enzymes like I have in my office. If you need just temporary relief, baking soda works, but it's not going to help the problem at all, because baking soda is just going to decrease the amount of acid that you have and not help you digest your food at all. Those are just some little tidbits, things that you can do at home to help those symptoms. Okay, so now let's go into less known gut-related symptoms. Everybody always assumes like, oh, I don't have a food allergy or something because I don't have any gut pain or I don't have any diarrhea or constipation. Not every gut reaction actually has symptoms in the gut. So I'll give you a good example, like little kids that get really bad like eczema and like skin bumps and rashes and things, usually is a food allergy, but they might not have any actual stomach symptoms. So some other ones that we can get, headaches, definitely. A lot of times you can get different sided shoulder pain depending on which part of your digestion's not working. Low back pain for sure, because you get it referred back there just from everything that's happening in the gut, and you're just going to feel it a lot more in your low back than you are typically in your intestines. So fatigue, allergies for sure, bad breath, smelling weird, a lot of times are due to a bad bacterial balance. Tinnitus and ringing in the ears can be due to infection in the gut because it travels from the gut all the way back up into your sinuses. Fibromyalgia is a lot of times due to just having excess inflammation, which can definitely be caused by leaky gut. Abdominal pain is kind of self-explanatory. It's usually in the lower right if it has to do with your small intestine to large intestine conversion. Dark circles under the eyes are big for liver dysfunction and allergies because it has an effect on your vascularity, so it can cause you to have dark circles under your eyes because of the histamine. Flu-like symptoms happens for a lot of people. There's different infections that like Lyme disease or something, for example, that'll just pretty much make you feel tired and kind of like you have a flu, but not super sick for like weeks. So there's a lot of different gut infections that can do that. Skin breakouts and acne, weakened immune function, which this is huge because like 80% of your immune system is in your gut. That is your defense barrier. That is how things get in your body. That is how toxins, that's how bacteria, that's how infections get into your body, is through the gut wall. There are very few surfaces in the body that are exposed to the external environment. So you have the things that you're touching all the time, like your eyes and your mouth and your nose. But besides those, pretty much it's everything that you swallow. And even the things that go into your nose and your mouth, you swallow. And you're supposed to have strong stomach acid to kill whatever you're ingesting. But if you don't have good stomach acid and your gut lining integrity is blown, it's a lot easier to catch illnesses because everything enters through the gut. Like I started with, Hippocrates, all disease begins in the gut because that's how it gets in. Unless you have some like gaping open wound or something, it's probably going to be coming in through the gut. And then the last is getting into like arthritis, bursitis, swelling in your joints. Those are all going to have to do with inflammation, which inflammation can come from your diet, but it can also come from having all these undigested foods causing problems with your bacteria in your gut. So I hope you guys are like writing down questions as we're going, so that way you remember them when we get to the end, because I'm sure we should have a few. Okay, so I included this because this kind of goes into the whole, your leaky gut will affect your entire body. It's just a picture way of saying it. So hope that helps you guys out. Like I said, it can affect your sinuses for sure. You're catching colds, food sensitivities, anything from arthritis to anything that affects your joints. It can cause adrenal fatigue for sure, because your body's not able to absorb the nutrients that it needs. So your adrenals are going to try to compensate by giving you more energy that's not coming from food. And then obviously the colon symptoms, the skin stuff, like I said, with little kids getting a lot of acne and eczema. Thyroid is a big one too, which we'll get into that. And then brain, I think I noticed the most difference in my brain when I fixed my gut, and still when I eat properly and on like almost like a leaky gut type protocol on a daily basis, my brain always feels better. I'm more attentive, I'm more attuned, I like have less depressive thoughts, things of that nature. Yeah. Okay. So I think we've gone into a lot of these, but I'll just give you guys throw out a couple diagnoses that tend to originate with leaky gut. So a lot of the brain fog, depression, things like I told you, hormone imbalance, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, autoimmune conditions, any autoimmune condition, allergies, infections, ileocecal valve syndrome. That's kind of something more like what I treat with the lower right abdominal pain. And low back pain has a big one with that. And then I'll have poor diet as a diagnosis because that's in there for sure, and liver dysfunction. Okay, so let's get into the meat of it now that we've got that covered. So what is leaky gut? So this picture pretty much explains everything that you need to know. I like the bucket analogy because that's really kind of how it is. So the water that's coming out of the bucket is all the junk from the outside world that's getting into your bloodstream. So as you can see in the photos with the cells, you normally have these super tight junctions that are keeping the integrity of your cell wall so that bacteria and pathogens can't get through. Unfortunately, there are a ton of triggers, as you can see above, from food proteins that your body doesn't like, not enough digestion with HCl and enzymes, antibiotics, probably number one, hormones. So I'm going to say hormones like any hormones that you're taking externally, whether that be estrogen, thyroid, testosterone, whatever else. Can be extra hormones from pregnancy, hormones from stress, hormones from menopause, excess toxins in your environment, food allergies, and blood sugar instability. So as you see, there's a ton of things that can cause this leaky gut process. So pretty much all of us are going to have this at some point or another in our lives. It just affects people differently based on the severity and the status of your immune system and how quickly you can heal. Because technically the gut lining should heal every 4 days. If it's not healing in 4 days, then you have something in your life that is a constant stressor that is causing it to come back. Like for me, for example, that was definitely food allergies, just because I was, being kind of careful about what I did with gluten and dairy and everything like that, but I wasn't super strict. And it wasn't until I completely eliminated a list of 50 different allergens until I could actually get a hold of this condition and heal my gut. So food is super, super important, and what you eat is super important for this. So I will definitely not underestimate that. And then as you can see, these pathogens or food proteins are going to get into the bloodstream, and that's going to cause inflammation. It's going to cause autoimmunity. You're not going to absorb proteins and nutrients as well. And lastly, getting a little bit more into the brain, your blood-brain barrier is going to be compromised if your gut is compromised, because pretty much every cell barrier in the body is going to be compromised. And basically what this means overall is that stuff's going to get to your brain that's not supposed to be there. That's a very protective layer. Things aren't supposed to get up there, like food proteins, not supposed to get up there. And if you have a bad reaction to gluten and gluten is getting into your brain, it can literally get so bad that it causes Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease, okay? So sometimes getting an allergy test done is a nice touch, because then you know how badly you actually are reacting to different foods. Okay. Okay, so this is just another way of looking at that picture, because I know everybody's brains work a little bit differently with how they take in information. So just a recap here. This is a cycle, obviously, but a lot of times, so you have intestinal inflammation caused by, let's say, for example, a poor diet or eating excess carbohydrates. This is going to lead to nutrient malabsorption. You're not going to have enough B12, magnesium, iron. That's going to cause different muscle conditions, inability to sleep well. The list goes on and on. It's going to lead to an immune response to that food and things that are getting into the bloodstream and not supposed to be there, which is going to lead to more food intolerances and GI issues, because when food gets into your bloodstream, that's when your body actually is able to form an immune reaction to it. And a lot of times this leads to autoimmune disease, because unfortunately food looks a lot like our tissues, right? I mean, it should make sense. But things like gluten are like 99% similar to thyroid tissue. So if your body is attacking gluten, I really like this analogy, like your immune system is like a bunch of blind Pac-Men going around, right? And they're just trying to eat the stuff up that the body tags for destruction. And if your body is trying to tag this gluten that's in the bloodstream that's not supposed to be there for destruction, and these little Pac-Men are going around, they get to the thyroid and they go, hey, that looks close enough, bye-bye. And this is where a lot of these autoimmune issues come from, okay? All right, so why treating leaky gut is so important. I think we pretty much already touched on these, but I'll repeat it. 80% of your immune proteins are located in the gut. It is your barrier between your body and the outside world, and you want the integrity of that barrier to be up and running 24/7 so that you're not exposing yourself to unnecessary pathogens. You have huge surface area in your gut. It's like 20% of a football field. That's a lot of area to cover. That's a lot of places where things could sneak in if the barrier's not up to par. And yeah, certain things just aren't supposed to make it into the bloodstream, like we'll say gluten, because that's what's familiar to most people. And like I kind of mentioned before, your gut plexus, which are the blood vessels that go from your gut, they go directly to your liver. And then so that your liver is trying to clear out all this food and all these toxins that's getting into your gut, and it gets overwhelmed, and then you lose your ability to detox. So this is why a lot of people will do like a repair program and a detox program somewhat simultaneously, because you kind of need both. You need to have detox before you can work on your gut, and then you need to work on your gut so that your liver doesn't have to detox so often. So they kind of go back and forth in the symbiotic thing, but you definitely a lot of times need to treat both. And which one comes first is something that I can probably help you figure out. All right, so biggest causes of leaky gut. So allergies, I think, are really the biggest one, just because so many people have undiagnosed allergies. Most of even the gluten allergy tests out there are fairly inconclusive. They're not really dependable at all, because there's so many different parts of the gluten protein that people can be reacted to. And that does not just for gluten. I mean, gluten's an easy one to pick on, but that goes for a lot of other foods as well. I mean, it could be something totally random that you're allergic to that's causing you problems. But that's why a lot of these repair programs are going to be very, very narrow on the number of foods that you're allowed to eat. So that way, when you start reintroducing things, you can kind of tell which ones you're reacting to. But we'll get into the food shortly. So yeah, so alcohol, definitely not good for your gut health. That goes for like a lot of different caffeine products as well, just because they are harsh on your gut, and you probably notice that after you drink them. Processed food, also very harsh on your gut lining. Infections, a lot of people have underlying infections. It's just one of those things that goes undiagnosed, especially in people like my age that aren't getting regular blood work, stuff could go undiagnosed in me, for example, till I'm like 50 and they decide that it's time to do blood work on me. So I'm kind of glad that I figured it out earlier than later and was able to learn more and get a handle on it. A lot of drugs like antibiotics and hormones, as I had mentioned before, will definitely have an influence on leaky gut as well, just because antibiotics, for example, knock out all of your gut bacteria. So, I mean, that's your team, right? Your team is your gut bacteria. I mean, our bodies are mostly made up of bacteria. I mean, even parts of our cells like mitochondria is technically a bacteria that got sucked into our body and we have a relationship with it, right? So you need to be friendly to your team, and antibiotics is knocking them all out. So that's where probiotics come in, trying to replace your team to kind of defend that gut lining. Good deal. So as I said, your liver is hugely related to your gut. So I wanted to bring this up because you guys are probably like, why the heck am I going to get acne if I have leaky gut? Or why is my skin going to break out? Why am I going to get cold sores, ingrown hairs, things of this nature? So when your liver gets exhausted, because that's the detox organ in the body, right? When it's overwhelmed, another organ has to pick up the slack. So that usually goes to the skin. There's a ton of surface area to deal with. And so the skin says, yeah, get these butt heads out of here when it's looking at all this bacteria that the liver is trying to push out. And so that's when you end up with things like acne, because your body's trying to get rid of those toxins or get rid of that bacteria, things like that. Same thing with the ingrown hairs, eczema, et cetera, et cetera. Your body is trying to excrete the junk. Okay, so whether that has to happen through the liver, the skin, or even somewhere else if it goes past that point. Right, so, oops. Yeah, so the liver is affected by like tons and tons of stuff. It has a huge job in the body. Like our joke on boards was that, okay, if you can't figure out what organ it goes to, like circle the liver because it basically does everything. So you really don't want your liver to be overwhelmed because, I mean, that's what you're controlling. Your blood sugar is huge. Like I said, it helps you detox out junk. So that's helping you detox out your waste products from working out, your waste products from your cells, waste products from junk you put in your body. So it's really important to have that there to protect you. So don't go trashing it by not healing a leaky gut or just eating super junky food all the time. And also, like, your liver has a huge impact on hormones and hormone conversion. Like, for example, thyroid. Your thyroid gets converted to its active form in your liver. So if you have leaky gut, which is leading to your liver being overwhelmed, can definitely lead to your hormones getting off balance as well. All right, so what I'm sure all of you guys like to know, how do I fix the leaky gut? So I always say that your inflammatory response that you're getting from this leaky gut is a fire, and to put out the fire, you need a hose. So if all you're doing to try to fix this is, okay, well, I take this one supplement, or I just take fish oil, or I give up gluten like 50% of the time, you're probably not going to get anywhere with healing this, okay? If you want to heal leaky gut, you have to go all out on this, okay? You have to hit that with a giant fire hose. So what I'm saying is you need to do pretty much all of the things that I have here if you want to get a hold of it, not just parts of them. So number one, addressing underlying infections. So that's something that you can have diagnosed with blood work for the most part. There's other products that you can use that kind of will just kill any kind of infection as well. But that's something that I get into in my office. Like I said, getting adjusted, just because that's going to give your body like the best ability to heal. It's going to change the position of a lot of your organs, which will really help digestion as well. Probiotics are great because, like I said, you really want to rebuild your team, especially if you've taken antibiotics or you are taking antibiotics. Address your low stomach acid. So that's going to be taking things like apple cider vinegar or a supplement when you're eating meals. Herbal support, there's so many different herbs out there that can help leaky gut. I'm not even going to go into like which ones work best or which ones work least. Most products are a combination of a lot of them, honestly. So digestive enzymes. So when you're at the store, they'll have so many names at the store. I'm not even sure I can give you a good direction. But if you want to take a good product that you can buy at the store, Now Foods is a good brand and Solgar is a good brand. And I know that they have products for things like this. So if you go to a health food store, ask somebody that's working there, I'm sure they can point you to some digestive enzymes or some HCl. And yeah, fish oil, always good, anti-inflammatory diet for sure. So you cannot out supplement a bad diet. So I don't care how many anti-inflammatory supplements you're taking or herbal supports you're taking, if you're not eating the proper program, you're never going to see results, which I have a list of foods coming up. And so de-stress, honestly, our guts are very reactive to how we're feeling, and just there's so many neurotransmitters that are made in the gut and absorbed in the gut that controlling your stress level is huge. Taking up things like meditation can definitely be helpful. Increasing blood flow to the gut. So that's going to be a little bit more difficult because it's going to require maybe a little bit different approach. So things like coffee enemas can do this. There's a lot of products that have caffeine in them that can increase blood flow. Trying to think of other things you guys can do at home, but I have a lot of products in my office to help blood flow to the gut, and a comprehensive repair bite diet. So that should be coming up in a couple slides. All right. So healing the leaky gut kind of requires a 4-step process. So first you need to remove the bad foods. You need to remove any infections that you have going on, environmental stressors, hormones, any of those things that I told you guys can cause the leaky gut. All right, second, we're going to replace with healing foods. So that's going to be the list I have coming up. Repair with your healing supplements, your herbal support, all those types of things. And then rebalance with probiotics. So rebuilding your team. All right, so I can post these for you guys on the Facebook page because I don't really think I need to like go into this food by food, but this includes everything that you need to avoid. This includes everything that you can include, and I'll post that for you guys because it'll probably just be easier. But if you need a really KISS principle way of knowing what you can and cannot eat, the foods that you should be eating for a repair bite diet are going to be, there's 5 of them to make it easy. You have vegetables, fruit, sweet potatoes, meat, coconut. If it's not one of those things, you probably shouldn't be eating it when you're trying to repair your gut. But I'll post the more comprehensive food list for you guys. All right, so a few names for you guys that are going to go to the store and buy a bunch of supplements for this. Great one that I've used is L-glutamine. That probably helped me the most, and butyric acid. So that's something that's basically your medium chain fats is what that is. Then you have quercetin, bromelain is from pineapple, turmeric is great, milk thistle. Those can all be super helpful. And like I said before, the different digestive enzymes and things to increase digestion. Good. And then, yeah, as we've gone over, eliminating allergens for sure. And lifestyle changes. So a good book for this that I've read is called The Slow Down Diet. But basically what it says is you need to chew your food, eat slowly, actually take a lunch break, take a breakfast time, things like that. Don't skip meals. Breathe with your belly. Eat smaller meals throughout the day, eat in a good environment. These are all things that I could probably talk about for 20 minutes a piece, but I just wanted to give you guys just a quick overview of things that you should do. An example on the chewing is like when you're eating protein, for example, you're supposed to chew it like 20 to 30 times before you even swallow, because that's going to give you the most enzymes and the most breakdown. Ooh, okay, that was it. Let's go back up to the top real quick and make sure that I covered all these. Okay, so good. I think that is pretty much everything as far as that goes. So just to give you guys a quick call to action. So if you guys make an appointment with me because of this video, then I'll give you a good deal on a new patient exam. If you're calling from a distance, then your first phone call is free. I do nutrition plans for $140 a month, and normal office visits are $70 a half an hour, and phone consults are $50. Supplementation is going to be super variable, but it's a lot easier to get stuff from my office than it is going to the stores, because a lot of the products that are on the shelf on the store are rancid, or you don't really know what kind of product that you're getting. So if anybody has questions, you can for sure call me, and then let me go ahead and open it up for questions.